Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Deandra Levon. If you are new, thanks so much for stopping by. And if you're already a part of the Clique, then welcome back. So I just wanted to start off by thanking you guys again for helping me hit 1,000 subbies. I already did a video thanking y'all for that, but just in case you missed it, I wanted to come again and say thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys so much. Alright y'all, so like I talked about in my previous video, I've been a little bit under the weather, so I didn't make a video for like 2-3 weeks or something like that, which is not normal for me. I usually post videos every single week, but y'all, I had no voice, like it was a mess. So I really had not had time to come and kind of talk to y'all about some stuff that's been going on in the culture, namely the Tory Lanez and Meg the Stallion trial. Technically, it's Tory Lanez versus the state, not Tory Lanez versus Meg the Stallion. Meg the Stallion was a witness in the case. She did not actually press charges and bring the trial to life. She was just a witness for the state. Gonna just get that out the way now, because a lot of people were saying that wrong and talking about Meg was the one that was pressing charges, suing Tory, blah, blah, blah. That is not true. She was just a witness. So we're just gonna do like a little twist out and chat, because I just have some thoughts. It's been a lot of dialogue that I've been seeing about this case, and now that we got the verdict and things have kind of settled down a little bit, I feel like we can come and kind of talk about some things. All right y'all, so this actually is an old wash and go that I'm starting off on. I do not feel like washing my hair, so we are gonna just work with this. We're gonna just revive my hair and transform it into a cute little twist out or whatever. Y'all, I swear my hair is getting thicker and thicker. Like, of course it's getting longer, but it just also is so thick now. Like, it takes a lot more work and effort to style my hair, but we're not complaining. We're blessed to have a head full of hair, so we are not going to complain, but I'm just saying. Alright y'all, so for this twist out, I'm going to be using my Uncle Funky's Daughter products. So I'm going to use the Supercurl Miracle Moisture Cream as my foundation products. And then I'm going to go in with my Uncle Funky's Daughter Curly Magic Curl Stimulator Gel. So I'm not going to use a whole lot of products because, like I said, this is an old wash and go. So there is product still in my hair. So that means I don't have to use as much of these products since there's already products, and I don't want my hair to be all weighed down and all that. Alright y'all, so that's pretty much all I'm gonna really say about my hair as I'm doing this twist out, because I have plenty of videos on how I do twist outs. So the rest of the video, we're just gonna be doing my hair while we talk about this trial. Alright, so just in case you have been like living under a rock or something, the case that we are talking about is Tory Lanez shooting Megan the Stallion in her feet. It was both of her feet, not just one foot. I know there was a lot of misinformation that was spread about this case, this trial. And one of those was that she only had like bullet fragments in one foot, but that is not true. She had bullet fragments in both of her feet. It was, I think, worse on her left foot, but she did have clear bullet fragments in both feet. You could see it on the x-ray pictures. I've seen the evidence. Like, they pretty much have released all the evidence now that the trial is over. So there's a lot of pieces of evidence that have come out now after the trial, which is completely normal. That is what always happens. Once the trial is over, then the evidence may be released. So you can go online and see all this stuff for yourself. So I saw the x-ray pictures. You can literally see pretty big sized fragments of the bullets inside her foot. Her left foot specifically. You can also see fragments inside her right foot. So all those people that were saying, oh, she wasn't even shot, like she made that all up, like, we can put that to rest. She was shot. And even during the trial, y'all, I kept up with this trial very, very well. I was following Megan Tory on Twitter. She was giving like the play-by-play. And I felt like she was very unbiased with her tweets, and she was just very like thorough. So I was following along with her. Since there were no cameras allowed inside the courtroom, we had to follow along via reporters on Twitter. So according to her tweets, even the defense for Tory Lanez wasn't even alleging that Meg the Stallion was never shot. Like, they were fully aware that Megan the Stallion had been shot. Their whole thing was just trying to create reasonable doubt that it was actually Tory Lanez that shot Megan the Stallion instead of her best friend Kelsey. And y'all, I'm just gonna say the trial was kind of a hot mess from what it sounded like. Like, it just, I don't think Tory's defense team was all that great, but the prosecution also had some missteps. Like, it was just kind of a hot mess of a trial. But even within the hot messness of it all, it was still very, very obvious and clear that Tory Lanez was the one that shot Megan. And the whole, oh, it might have been Kelsey narrative, it just never really made much sense to me. Like, so you're telling me that Megan's best friend, Kelsey, shot Megan, but then was asking Megan, was she okay after? But she was holding Megan's bleeding foot in the car, but she was one that shot her. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, the stuff that people believe is just ridiculous. It didn't make any sense. And unfortunately, it doesn't take much for people to start victim blaming, especially when you're dealing with a black woman, especially when you're dealing with a woman like Meg the Stallion, who is very confident and very comfortable in her own skin and is not the typical, how can I word this? She's like the opposite of a pick-me. And when I say that, I just mean Megan is unapologetically herself, regardless of whether women or men like it. And unfortunately, in this society, we don't like that. And I say we, but I'm really talking about our society as a whole, does not like when people, but especially women, and even more specifically black women, are kind of like have an I don't care type of attitude, or I'm gonna do what I want to do type of attitude. Folks don't like that. And that was very much so on display during this whole entire situation. I remember a couple years ago when Megan was first shot, when it first came out that she was shot, and everyone kind of knew something happened, but at the same time it was like, well, Megan is saying she stepped on glass, So I don't know, like, was she shot? Like, you know, we were all a little bit confused about what actually happened. But at the same time, we knew something happened. Like, it just wasn't adding up. It just was not adding up. And so people started saying, you know, Tory Lanez was the one that shot her. Even though Megan at that point had not said that it was Tory Lanez. But people were just putting two and two together and were coming to their own conclusion that it was Tory that shot Megan. And I remember this. Like, I remember right away people were picking sides. Right away people were like trying to justify it, and men especially were trying to cover for Tory and saying, oh, we don't know what happened. What if she was fighting him? I mean, she's a big woman. You see how big she is. You see how tall she is. Like, Tory Lanez is a small guy. Like, he probably had to do that. And it's just like it just started coming out so easily, the way that they really felt about Meg the Stallion. Like, all their true feelings about her started to come out. And it's so funny because they were fine with Megan as long as she was doing her twerk videos and giving them what they wanted to see. They were perfectly fine with her body size, with her body shape. They didn't have no problem with it. She was a stallion. Like, they were perfectly fine with it. But as soon as there was the possibility that she had been harmed by a black man, all of a sudden she was not attractive. All of a sudden she was this big, scary woman that Tory Lanez had to protect himself against. Like, it was very interesting. The conversation was very interesting. So as this conversation kept continuing, Tory Lanez started talking. I love how people try to do revisionist history and make it seem like Megan was the one that started talking. Like, no, it was Tory. Tory didn't like what was being assumed by people online, because at that point we did not know what happened. But he did not like the narrative that was pretty popular at the time. And so he started talking and basically harassing Megan when she hadn't even said anything. And he was basically trying to make it seem like she was a liar when she hadn't even named him as the person that shot her. And that was when she went on her Instagram live, I believe, and that is when she said, like, no, I'm not gonna just keep taking this. I was shot and Tory was the one that shot me. I said that I stepped on glass, that I was trying to protect him. You know, the George Floyd thing had just happened and I was scared. I did not want anybody to get hurt or get into trouble. And anybody that is rational understands that. Like, it was a scary time for black men, especially because there was a lot of police brutality that has always gone on, but it was very prevalent in the news media at that time. And so I can understand why she would want to not put her or him, any of them, in that type of situation. Not to mention, she was a star. She and Tory Lanez were both stars. And I'm not going to get into which one was a bigger star, because that's another argument that folks love to have. And in reality, it doesn't really matter. They were both stars, and neither one of them wanted the negative publicity that was for sure going to come along with this altercation that happened between them. So yes, she told the police that she stepped on glass, even though she knew at the time that she had been shot. But I understand why she did that. And soon after that, she went back and told the truth. She went back and said Tory was the one that shot me. And she even said, like, I would not have said anything. I would have kept on probably saying that I stepped on glass if you had just chilled out. But he refused to do that. He wanted to clear his name in the public opinion. And because of that, she was like, all right, well, I'm going to tell my truth then. And nobody can really blame her for that. So let's get into Kelsey a little bit. All right. So apparently Kelsey and Meg were like great friends for several years. I think like 6 or 7 years, because they met in college. And Kelsey was Megan's friend before Megan really blew up. And like a lot of celebrities do, once they start to blow up, they give their friends some type of job or position on their team. So she made Kelsey her like assistant, and you know, whatever. They were still best friends, but she was her assistant. At some point, she introduced Kelsey to Tory Lanez and was like, you know, if y'all like each other, y'all should talk, whatever. And then at some point, Tory and Megan started to talk, date, whatever they started to do. And people were like so focused on this fact, the fact that, oh, she tried to put Tory on her best friend and then she went and got with him. It's like, okay, girl, what? Like, I understand that probably looks really shady or whatever, but what does that have to do with her getting shot? Oh, she said that she and Tory didn't have anything going on. She went on Gayle King and basically said that was a lie. She never was intimate with Tory Lanez. And it's like, and so what? Meg the Stallion does not owe any of y'all her personal business. That is her personal business, who she was doing whatever with. Like, that don't have anything to do with the trial at hand. Like, it doesn't. And the fact that people are like, oh, well, if she'll lie about that, then she'll lie about getting shot. Baby, it is not the same thing. Lying about an intimate detail because you're embarrassed or because you just don't want people to know. I mean, that's a thing. You can just not want people to know. Lying about that is not the same as lying about something traumatic that has happened to you. It's not the same. Like, every single person has told a lie. There is not one person that has not told a lie. So because you've told a lie at some point during your life, that means that if you say something happened to me and this person did it, does that mean that you should just not be believed? Like, let's talk about it. So anybody that comes out and says, so-and-so shot me, so-and-so stabbed me, so-and-so raped me, whatever you say, because you lied at some point during that trial or any time prior to that, because you lied one time, that means that we can't believe anything else you say. Like, that's not reasonable. And a lot of people just, during this whole case, were not reasonable, rational in their thought processes because they wanted a certain outcome. They wanted Tory Lanez to not have to suffer any consequences for his actions. And so they were reaching. They were grasping at straws, like, real hard. So we get to the trial. And Kelsey, like, I do not understand Kelsey's strategy at all. So basically, Kelsey did a whole interview in September, like an 80-minute interview in September, where she talked at length about all the details of what happened that night, like starting with what happened at Kylie Jenner's house, which was the first problem. Like, y'all should have never been at Kylie Jenner's house. But anyway, starting with them being drunk at Kylie Jenner's house, all the way up to the actual shooting. And you can just tell that she was being very candid. She was being very open and comfortable, like she wasn't being pressured. The defense tried to say that she was being pressured. When you hear the audio, you can tell she wasn't being pressured. And it didn't sound like somebody that was trying to make up a whole story. Like, it sounded like a person recounting what happened on that night in detail. And in detail, she explained that Tory Lanez shot Meg the Stallion. She said they were arguing, and Tory Lanez brought up, like, oh, Megan, you need to tell Kelsey the truth. You need to tell her what you've been doing behind her back, blah, 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 blah. And that was kind of what started off the whole argument between all three of them. And then Meg the Stallion started to insult his career. She started to come for his artistry. And his ego got bruised. And it's so funny how people act like that is so far-fetched. Like, oh, so we're supposed to think that Tory shot her because she insulted his music career? It's like, yes. Like, that's not even hard to believe or understand. He literally has a pattern of this. Like, he basically beat up August Alsina. He and his, like, security folks jumped August Alsina because August Alsina didn't speak to him, didn't shake his hand or whatever. He felt disrespected by August, and he fought him for that. So why would we feel like it would be far-fetched that he would be so bruised by Meg Thee Stallion saying that his career wasn't really popping for real, to the point where he would shoot her? Like, that is not far-fetched. To be honest, that's not that far-fetched in general. Like, a lot of people and a lot of men, particularly, because that's what we're talking about right now, have fragile egos. Masculinity is so fragile. And when they feel like a woman, especially, is belittling them or making them feel less than, or, you know, when women start to point out those insecurities, they start to push those buttons, and then the men can't take it. And because they can't, you know, handle her with their words, because a lot of times the women are a lot more witty or just a lot better with their words. And so because the men cannot compete verbally, they resort to physical violence. That happens all the time. It happens all the time. Like, the fact that people are trying to make it seem like that is some far-fetched, crazy thing is just beyond me, and is not being truthful. People with this case were just not truthful. A lot of y'all have seen this. Y'all have seen this play out in real life right in front of you. But you want to act like because this man is a celebrity that is like completely unheard of. Like, please be serious. Please be serious. So, back to the case. So yes, he got mad because she was insulting his artistry. He basically was like, I want you and Kelsey to both get out. So their driver, Tory Lanez's driver, pulls over. Kelsey and Megan are getting out of the vehicle. And while Megan's back is turned, Tory Lanez starts shooting, like, over the door, basically. So his door is open and he's like shooting towards the ground at Megan Thee Stallion while she's walking away. And the thing is, like, when you look at her x-ray pictures, you see that the bullet fragments are in like the back of her feet. They're like in her heels. One is like, on one foot is like literally her heel, and then on the other one it's like kind of like where her Achilles tendon is, which is like the back of your ankle. So that completely matches up with her back being turned, walking away while he's shooting at her. And it completely negates basically the fact that, oh, she just stepped on glass. Because if you step on glass, like, it's not gonna just be in your heel, it's not gonna be in the back of your ankle. Like, how do you step on glass and it ends up in the back of your ankle? Like, somebody please tell me. Not to mention, like, I've been in med school, so I understand how imaging works, and glass is not going to show up as white fragments on an x-ray. That is how metal shows up in your body. And guess what is made out of metal? Bullets. Because those were bullet fragments in her foot. Alright, so that was Kelsey's account in her September interview. It basically matched up pretty much verbatim with Megan's testimony, which she gave on the stand. Megan gave that full testimony on the stand. And then it was time for Kelsey to get up there. And Kelsey literally, y'all, she tried to like plead the fifth because she had been granted immunity by the prosecution. However, I do not think that Kelsey really understood what was going on. Like, I don't think Kelsey understood that, like, you still cannot perjure yourself. Perjuring yourself essentially means when you lie under oath. You cannot, under any circumstance, lie under oath. Even if you do have immunity. And, like, from what I read, her immunity wasn't even like full immunity. She only had immunity for like certain things, but she did not have full immunity, and she for sure did not have immunity from perjuring herself. But she got up on that stand, y'all, and she was like, "Oh, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if Tory shot her or not. Maybe he did. Like, I don't know. I just assumed that he did." They were like, "Well, you text Megan's bodyguard like 5 minutes after the incident and said, 'Help, Tory shot Meg.' And you're saying that you didn't know? Like, what?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I just assumed it. I really didn't know. I panicked. I was going through postpartum. So, like, I don't know. Like, everything that I said in that interview in September was not totally true." Like, okay, so what part was not true? Like, she couldn't even fully express what actually wasn't true that she said. She kept just trying to plead the fifth. And this actually possibly could have created some reasonable doubt that would have helped the defense. It would have helped Tory Lanez. However, back to Tory Lanez just having a horrible defense team. They were basically like, when they went up to cross-examine Kelsey, they were basically like implying that Kelsey had been pressured by the prosecution to say what she said in the September interview. And I saw like a lot of people were completely wrong about this. They were saying like, "Oh, he messed up because he brought up the interview." No. It wasn't that he just brought up the interview. It was fine to bring up the interview. However, the interview was not going to be included in the evidence. It wasn't going to be played for the jury until he implied that the prosecution pressured the witness. because that is illegal to do. You cannot pressure a witness. So because of that, the prosecution was like, okay, well, now our integrity is being questioned. So we would like the ability to play the full 80-minute interview so that we can show that no, we did not pressure her. So that was a complete blunder by the defense. Like, that interview would have never gone played if they did not insinuate that the prosecution pressured Kelsey. And this just made Kelsey look even more crazy, because after they played that full 80-minute video, it was clear that her entire demeanor was different than what it was in court. Like, it was obvious that between September and now, when the trial happened, somebody had gotten to Kelsey. We don't know what exactly happened, but she was intimidated. She did not want to get up there and say what she said in September. Like, she did not want to. And there's a lot of possible reasons for that, but it just didn't really make any sense for her, because literally the defense is trying to say that you're the one that shot Megan. So by you saying, oh, well, it wasn't Tory, you do know that only leaves you, right? Like, the gunshot residue was on his hands and your hands. So the only other potential shooter would be you. But I guess because she felt like she had immunity, she wasn't too worried about it. But it's like, girl, like, make it make sense. So anyway, basically, Kelsey's whole testimony that she gave in the court was, for the most part, disregarded from what we can tell. And if I was on the jury, that's what I would have done. Like, why would I assume that you being in the courtroom and acting like you don't know anything, why would I assume that that is more honest, that that's you being more candid than a whole 80-minute video where you go blow by blow, details on details about what happened? Like, of course, that interview is going to hold a lot more weight, and it clearly did. So then the next big witness in the case was Sean Kelly, which was a neighbor that basically woke up in the middle of the night. So it was like 4 in the morning or something. Like, it was very early in the morning. It was still dark outside when all of this was happening. And they were right in front of his house, basically. They were like in his driveway. So it woke him up. And so he's giving his account of what happened. And to be honest, his testimony was kind of all over the place. It sounds like he was like an older gentleman with an accent. He didn't know who Meg the Stallion or Tory Lanez even were. He just was a guy that was woken up in the middle of the night because he heard a lot of fighting outside. So according to him, he heard all the commotion, and he says that he saw the girls fighting. So he says that he saw Megan and Kelsey fighting, and then at some point Tory Lanez gets out of the truck and he starts firing everywhere. Some people are saying that he said everywhere. Some people are saying that he said no, Tory was firing in the air. It really doesn't matter. The point was, the defense called Sean Kelly as their star witness now. This is their star witness. The defense called this witness. And their own witness says that Tory Lanez had the gun and was shooting everywhere. Everywhere or in the air. Both are problematic because their whole thing is that Tory Lanez is not the one that shot the gun. So Sean Kelly was a little like unsure about, you know, all of the details of what happened. He was like, he believed that one of the flashes, which is like the gunshots, one of the flashes came closer to the women, but then Tory Lanez, he called him the shorter guy. It was kind of funny. He kept calling him the shortest one. The shortest one shot 4 or 5 times. And so after this, people were like, oh, well, see, he's saying that Kelsey shot first. So maybe she shot Megan and Tory was just trying to empty the clip so that he could end the situation. He was trying to actually save Megan. And it's like, y'all, let's be for real. Like, please be for real. That don't even make sense. Because they also had audio of the gunshots. And you can't hear anything else on the audio except the gunshots because the recording was recorded inside someone's home. It was like their Ring camera inside their home. So you couldn't hear any of the yelling or the fighting or anything like that. But you can clearly hear the gunshots. And the gunshots were like boom, 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 boom. It was 5 shots. 3 were back to back, slight pause, and 2 more. So there was no time for Kelsey to have shot and then Tory Lanez gets the gun in that time. Like, it just makes no sense. People were like, oh, they were probably fighting over the gun. Tory Lanez was trying to get the gun from Kelsey and it went off. And it's like, okay, so it went off 5 times? When you accidentally shoot a gun, it doesn't go off 5 times. Oh, maybe he dropped the gun and it went off 5 times. And the prosecution even had a gun expert as one of their witnesses, and they were like, with this particular gun, you know, can it go off accidentally? And essentially the gun expert said no. They were like, it would take like 8 pounds of pressure or something like that to pull the trigger. So that means that to fire that particular weapon, you had to be very intentional. That was not a weapon that you could just accidentally shoot, okay? It took some pressure to shoot that gun. This was not the gun where if you drop it, it's gonna go off. Like, no, you had to actually put pressure on the trigger for that gun to go off. Like, let's just be for real. Like, please be for real. They were trying everything, y'all, because they knew that once Sean Kelly said that he saw the shortest one, which is Tory Lanez, with that gun, it was over. Because the charges, let me go through the charges for y'all. So the charges, he was charged with 3 things. So the charges were, this is not verbatim, this is kind of like paraphrase, but essentially the charges were, the first count was possession of an unregistered gun and like trying to conceal the gun. So the first charge was just basically, did Tory Lanez have an unregistered gun and was he in possession of the gun? All right. The second charge was the assault charge. So it was like assault with a firearm. So that was essentially the actual shooting of Megan Thee Stallion, or shooting at Meg Thee Stallion. And then the third charge, which the prosecution added later, that was the most recent charge, was just basically negligence, like shooting a firearm in a negligent manner. So negligence would be like, it's New Year's and you're shooting the gun into the air and it hits somebody or kills somebody. That is negligence, and you are still responsible for that. You do not have to intentionally shoot someone. Even if you accidentally shoot someone but it was negligence, you are still responsible and you can still go to prison for that. Sorry if y'all can hear that, y'all. That's the alarm going off because my mom or dad just got home. But let's continue. So Sean Kelly gets up there, says this testimony. Everybody is like, oh my God, like, it might be over. Like, that might have been all we needed to put this case to an end. But everybody was still kind of worried about the whole reasonable doubt thing, because in order to convict, you do have to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. And because there had been a lot of hot messness going on in this trial, it was unsure if the jury was going to convict him beyond reasonable doubt. However, myself, I felt like, yeah, they were. I felt like he was for sure going to get at least 2 of the counts. The possession of the weapon and the negligence, firing the firearm negligently. I felt like there was no way that he wouldn't get those 2. Because all 3, Megan, Kelsey, and Sean, admitted that he was just firing. Like, he had to get those 2, basically. The only thing was the assault charge. And I think a lot of people were a little bit confused about the assault charge, because they felt like it had to mean that Tory aimed at Megan and shot her in the feet. But that is not necessarily the case. So even if Tory was shooting at or around Megan, he could still get assault. So if he shot at the ground, which it sounds like he did, it sounds like he shot at the ground, and the bullets ricocheted or whatever and hit her feet. That kind of sounds like what might have happened. Or he actually shot her feet. Either way it goes, it still counts as assault. And that's the part that people were missing. It's still assault. And because of that, he was found guilty. Guilty on all 3 of the charges. And y'all, like, no, I am not happy that somebody is going to prison. Like, I'm never happy about that. However, Megan is vindicated, because people really tried to make it seem like she was just flat out lying. And it's so sad that that was even the case. And I am not of the belief that people are guilty before proven innocent. Like, I completely understand the trial had not happened yet. The verdict had not happened. So people that wanted to be like, you know, I'm not going to just say that Tory did it, I want to see the facts. Like, okay, I can deal with that. I know a lot of people didn't even want to hear people say things like that. I was fine with people saying they wanted to get the facts first before they gave their opinion. Like, I'm fine with that. But the people that were just straight up being like, oh no, Tory's innocent. Tory didn't shoot her. She shot herself. Or Kelsey shot her. Or she wasn't even shot at all. Like, that was the stuff that was just ridiculous. Like, I could not even deal with that. Because there was so much evidence that pointed to the contrary of what you're saying. Like, to really say that she wasn't even shot, to say that she was just lying about being shot, for what? What incentive did Meg the Stallion have to lie on little Tory Lanez? Please tell me. What did she gain from that? She was in a lose-lose situation, because if she said that he shot her, now she's a snitch, or now she's a liar. And then when she tried to not snitch, not say it was him, y'all are like, oh, well, she should have said that from the beginning. She didn't say he shot her from the beginning. She was in a lose-lose situation. Whether Tory had gone not guilty or guilty, she was in a lose-lose situation. She didn't gain anything from this case. Because if he had gone not guilty, they would have said, see, she was lying. See, we all knew she was lying. But now that he was found guilty because he did it, now it's she's a snitch. Now it's she put a black man in prison, innocent or not. because a lot of them still think he's innocent, which is delusional. So it's like women, especially black women, can't really win for losing, as people say. It's like no matter what she did, she was in the wrong in people's eyes because she was assaulted. And it definitely gives victim blaming. It definitely gives when women are the R word. I think I said it earlier, but I'm not supposed to on YouTube. But when women are sexually assaulted and people blame the woman. They ask, what was she wearing? What was she doing? Was she drunk? Was she intoxicated? Like, that came up so much. The fact that Meg the Stallion was belligerently drunk during this. And it's like, they were all drunk. Kelsey was so drunk that she passed out at Kylie Jenner's house and had to take a nap for a few hours. Like, that's how drunk she was. Tory Lanez was drunk. They were all drunk. So why is there so much emphasis on Megan being drunk? And it's like, okay, yeah, they were all drunk. Did alcohol help the situation? No, probably not. But alcohol wasn't what shot Meg the Stallion. Can alcohol shoot people? No. Individuals shoot people, right? So alcohol or no alcohol, Tory Lanez grabbed a gun and shot at this woman. That is the point. That is the issue at hand. Nothing else. Not Megan doing whatever she did with Tory Lanez. Not her relationship with Tory Lanez. Not her relationship with Kelsey. Not Kelsey's relationship with Tory Lanez. Not the alcohol. Not the insults that were being thrown back and forth. None of that is the issue at hand. The issue at hand is a shooting occurred. And one person was shot in the process. And that person was Meg the Stallion. And yes, I believed Megan from the beginning. When she first said that Tory Lanez shot her, I believed her. I did not have a reason to not believe her. I did not see a world where Megan would point out that this man shot her and not be sure about it, or just blatantly make it up, lie about it. Like, what reason would she have to do that? You're telling me that y'all think that she did all that? She went so far as to try to put this man in prison because she was jealous about him? Like, have y'all seen Tory Lanez? Have y'all? Y'all really think she would throw away her whole career, risk everything that she's risked, go through everything she's gone through because she was a woman scorned over Tory Lanez? Like, that is beyond me. Like, this whole thing was just so beyond me. Like, you think Megan would be trying to protect Kelsey if Kelsey was the one that shot her over Tory Lanez? Like that? So that's what y'all think. And y'all think that Kelsey was this huge mastermind to the point that 5 minutes after the shooting, she texts, "Help, Tory shot Meg," to Tory's bodyguard. I mean, to Megan's bodyguard. Because it was her whole master plan to frame it on Tory. That's what y'all think. Like, does that even make sense? And it's funny because I actually found out that the reason why that text message from Kelsey to Megan's bodyguard saying, "Help, Tory shot Meg," that was only introduced as evidence because it happened so close to after the accident or incident actually occurred. Because normally that would be considered hearsay and it wouldn't even be admissible in court. But it's called like something utterance or something, crisis utterance. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen. But it basically means like what people say right after something happens is considered to be pretty much a fact. Like it's pretty much considered to be very, very truthful because you haven't had time to think it through. It's kind of like in the heat of the moment, and it's likely to be your actual true feelings and the actual event that has happened. So when you come back a year later or whenever time has passed, you're more likely to not be telling the truth because it's later. You've had time to think about it. You've had time to come up with a new story or come up with a lie or come up with whatever sounds the best. But because Kelsey sent that text right after it happened, it was pretty much like, yeah, no, this is what happened. If Kelsey shot Megan, she would not have sent that text. It didn't even make any sense. And I felt like the defense, like Tory's defense, that was probably their biggest blunder. Is their whole premise was like, well, Tory didn't shoot her. We're not saying specifically that Kelsey shot her, but I mean, could she have shot her? Let's think about this. Reasonable doubt. Who had the motive? I mean, Kelsey was just found out that her man was cheating on her with her best friend. Mind you, it wasn't even her man. Like, it wasn't even that deep of a relationship. But anyways, that was their whole premise. But yet they never fully tied that in. Like, they never fully tied Kelsey to the shooting. It was very weird. Like, they really didn't present anything. I guess it was supposed to be Sean Kelly. I guess that was supposed to be like their big bombshell. But he bombed for them because he literally said that Tory was the one that did it. And it's funny because even if we go with that narrative that Kelsey shot first and then Tory Lanez shot the rest of the times, by Sean Kelly's account, after Tory was shooting everywhere, that is when he saw Megan fall to the ground and start crawling away. So even if Kelsey did shoot one time, Tory's 4 or 5 shots was the one that actually hit Megan. And I don't even believe that Kelsey was one that shot the once. I think that was still Tory shooting. I just think that Sean Kelly couldn't really see and he was a little bit confused. That is what I think. And it is what it is. And then the last piece of evidence that I can remember right now, guys, but was also very harmful to Tory's case, was that his own Instagram account commented on somebody's post that said, oh, they're saying Kelsey was the one that shot Meg, with like a crying emoji. And Tory replied and said, that's not true. Like, you are on trial. I guess the trial hasn't started yet. But you have been charged with shooting a woman. And you're still talking. Like, why didn't he just shut up? Like, why did he not just shut up? Like, this man said that's not true. So your whole defense right now is that Kelsey was possibly the one that shot Megan. And y'all's client has a whole Instagram reply that says that that's not what happened. And they were trying to be like, oh, well, a lot of celebrities get somebody else to run their account, so that might not have been Tory. It's like y'all are reaching, y'all. The reaches were incredible in the worst possible way. And what was even more crazy was the Tory Lanez fans and apologists and all of them who were really running with those crazy theories. Even down to, oh, this was all a conspiracy by Rock Nation. And they wanted to bring Beyonce and Jay-Z in it. Tory Lanez's dad talking about this is Beyonce and Jay-Z's doing. I'm like, what y'all not gonna do is try to bring my girl B into y'all's mess. Like, Beyonce didn't have nothing to do with y'all's mess. Stop it. Like, y'all better hush, because the Beehive does not play. They need to tell Tory Lanez's dad that he needs to just relax. Focus on that appeal, because I know they're going to try to appeal it. But I don't think it's going to do anything. Like, I don't think that an appeal is going to be successful, because the evidence was just very, very, very clear. And that's just that on that. But yeah, I think they said he's going to be sentenced in like January or February, something like that. He's facing up to 22 years. I do not think he's going to get 22 years. I just don't think so. With him being a celebrity and all that, I don't think he's going to get 22 years. But I do think that he's going to get some pretty serious time. I would say at least 5 to 10. If I had to just like guess off the top of my head, I would say he's probably gonna get 5 to 10. I am not a lawyer, but just my guess is gonna be probably 5 to 10 years. And I think he is going to get deported. And I feel like if this had been his first like charge or his first issue with the law, I think he would have been a lot better off. But I think because he's had other issues before, and apparently he's had other like legal issues involving firearms. Like, I did not know that, but he has other issues involving firearms, so that might be why he couldn't even have a gun in the first place. But yeah, because of that, I think he's definitely going to get some serious time, and he's probably going to get deported. And it's like, no, I'm not happy that he's going to prison, but at the same time, there are consequences for your actions. And I think everybody needs to understand that, and this needs to be a learning lesson for everybody, that you cannot just go around shooting people. You cannot just do whatever you want just because you get mad, just because somebody doesn't do what you want them to do, just because somebody talks about you, makes you feel away. Like, that doesn't mean you can just pick up a gun and shoot somebody. Like, we have way too much of that going on in our culture specifically, and it needs to stop. And so because of that, I am glad that there is going to be some punishment, because I feel like if Tory Lanez had gotten off, it would have sent the message that this is okay to do. That you can assault people, you can assault women, you can assault black women, and nothing is going to happen to you. And we cannot have that narrative continue. Like, no. If you shoot somebody, you're going to have to pay the consequences for that. Period, point blank. Alright guys, so yes, Meg is vindicated. We love to see it, and thank you guys so much for watching. This is the Twistout, or it's not a twist out yet, it's just the twist. But I put the clips on the end like I always do. A lot of people ask me why I use these, and it is to just elongate my twist out while it's drying. It gives me a much longer twist out once I take the twist out. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks again for 1K. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. It helps to spread it through the YouTube algorithm, so I really appreciate that. And if you haven't already joined the Clique, then make sure that you do so. We would love to have you be a part of this family, and I will see y'all next week in my next video. Bye.